Welcome to RTB, the podcast for aviation geeks, made by Aviation Geeks. In today's episode, the insane fighter the U.S. Air Force said no to.
The F-16 Fighting Falcon is America's most successful fighter jet ever, with over 19 million flight hours logged. But there's an incredible story about its radical twin that never made it to production. A supersonic marvel that could have changed modern aerial warfare.
You know what's fascinating about that? The original F-16 is already legendary. We're talking about 3,000 operational aircraft across 25 countries with more than 400,000 combat sorties. What made them think it needed such a dramatic redesign?
Well, it all started with something called SCAMP, the Supersonic Cruise and Maneuver Prototype. The engineers weren't just trying to modify the F-16. They were attempting to completely reimagine what a fighter jet could be.
That must have required an enormous amount of research and development.
Oh, you have no idea. General Dynamics partnered with NASA and tested over 150 different configurations. We're talking about 3,600 hours in NASA wind tunnels. They were obsessed with getting this design perfect.
So what exactly made this variant so special compared to the original F-16?
Well, they basically transformed everything about the aircraft. They stretched the fuselage by 56 inches and created this revolutionary cranked aero wing design that more than doubled the wing area. But here's what's really wild. They actually removed the ventral fins because the new delta wing provided better stability.
That's quite a leap of faith in the new design. What kind of performance improvements did they see?
The results were absolutely mind-blowing. The F-16XL could either double the range or double the payload of the original F-16. The program director, D. Randall Kent, was so confident that in 1983 he basically declared it would revolutionize the Air Force's tactical capabilities.
So with all these impressive capabilities, why did the Air Force ultimately go with the F-15E Strike Eagle instead?
You know, that's where things get really interesting. It wasn't about capabilities. It came down to practical considerations. The F-15E was basically ready to go, while the F-16XL needed more development time and money. Plus, those twin engines on the Strike Eagle meant more thrust and an even larger weapons capacity.
But the story didn't end there, did it?
Not at all. In 1988, NASA saw the potential in these prototypes and gave them a second life. They became research platforms for studying aerodynamics, particularly focusing on wing airflow during sustained supersonic flight. This research continued for over a decade.
That really speaks to the innovative nature of the design. I mean, NASA doesn't just take any aircraft for their research programs.
Exactly right, and get this. In 2007, NASA actually approached Lockheed Martin about potentially returning one of the prototypes to flight status. They were still seeing value in this design decades after its initial development.
So what ultimately happened to these revolutionary aircraft?
Well, that 2007 program ended in 2008, and both aircraft were retired. One's now in storage at the Air Force Flight Center Museum at Edwards, and the other's on display at the Museum Air Park. But you know what's really fascinating about this whole story?
What's that?
It shows how innovation in military aviation isn't always about success or failure. The F-16XL might not have won the competition, but its research and development contributed enormously to our understanding of supersonic flight aerodynamics. Sometimes the most valuable projects are the ones that push boundaries, even if they never make it to mass production.
That's a really interesting perspective. So in a way, its failure actually led to important advances in aviation technology?
Exactly. And that's what makes this story so compelling. The F-16XL represents this fascinating moment in aviation history where ambitious engineering met practical limitations. But its legacy lives on in the data and research it provided, which continues to influence aircraft design today.
Thanks for stopping by, friends. See you soon in the next episode of RTB. Happy landings.